They say that repetition is the mother of all learning, and we all live in the hope that saying something enough times will eventually get through to the other person. Perhaps this explains the three parables that Jesus offers in the gospel today, all with the same basic theme: patience. In fact, it's not just Jesus in the gospel parables that speaks of patience. We listen to the first reading from the book of Wisdom, and we hear of patience, God's patience. We hear the words, "But though you are master of might, you judge with clemency, and with much leniency you govern us." The author recognizes God's great patience in dealing with God's people. Patience and time are two precious gifts that God offers over and over and over. Jesus begins his instruction to the crowds with the parable of the weeds and the wheat. And Jesus was referring to a very specific weed at that time. It's a weed that when it first starts to grow looks exactly like the wheat. They look the same. And that's why he is hesitant to allow them to try to pick out which ones are the weeds. And so Jesus provides the wisdom of the householder who will wait until the time of harvest to separate the weeds from the wheat. And the crowd understood that good and evil will coexist until God brings about the final judgment. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed with flour. All of this starts out very slowly and grows slowly. And that's the way it is with God's kingdom. So don't become discouraged and don't lose hope. I think we live in a time, especially, that we truly need a spirit of hope, that God has not abandoned us. We don't know the plan, we don't know the future, but we live as a people of hope. Be patient, give it time. God is patient, and God waits. It's what we hear in the book of Wisdom, and it's part of the message of Jesus' parables. And we must be patient too. And I would bet that our first thoughts focus on how patient we are with others. We think immediately of our impatience with family members, with co-workers, with company representatives on the phone. We think of our impatience in parking lots and in long lines and in traffic. And that seems to be the focus when we think of patience. But Jesus is encouraging most of all a spirit of hope, a spirit of trust. The seed will grow slowly. The yeast will take time, but it will get the job done. That's more than just being patient with people around us. And patience also includes ourselves. We all at times need to be patient with ourselves. And often this means that we need to give ourselves time. So often the pressure that we are dealing with is pressure that we've placed upon ourselves. And the only one who can take that pressure away is oneself. The parable of the mustard seed and the yeast need to apply to our lives in the way we are patient or impatient with ourselves. And patience also includes God. And I don't mean God's patience with us. I mean our patience with God. We know that God is patient with us. We are given so many times and so many chances and so many opportunities to change and to grow. God is so forbearing, so very patient with us. But what about our patience with God? So often we hear the lament that God has not heard one's prayer because nothing has happened, nothing has changed. And that's the way we look at it, isn't it? We pray and we look for God's response. We want the results that we ask for. And if it doesn't happen, we're so ready to say that God didn't hear us, or God doesn't care, or God doesn't listen, or we're not really one of God's special friends. We so much want God to be patient with us, but how much are we willing to be patient with God? Because that's what faith truly demands, trusting and believing, even when we don't get the answers that we want, or hope for, or pray for. It's very natural and very normal that we think about people and situations around us when we think of patience. And perhaps that's the reason Jesus shared 3 stories, 3 parables, to urge us to reflect on all that patience truly means and all that what patience really is about.